Hey guys, it's Joe, and in this video I'll be showing you the first steps you should be taking when mixing a track. I'll mainly be talking about using the fader and panning. So I'll just be showing you this example in an old house track I found of mine. If I'm honest, I completely forgot I even had it or made it, and it sounds alright, so thought I'd use the example for this. So this is what it sounds like with all the processing on it. So it actually sounds alright. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through every track and every channel, turn off every effect on it, reset all the fading, all the volume, and all the panning on it, and show you what it sounds like then. Okay, so go through and select all of these. I'm going to select everything except for the output. Wow, there's a lot going on. Cool. So I'll just turn everything off. Buses, might as well. So, a couple over here. Reset all of that. Everything's dead central. Everything's on Unity up here. So let's have a listen to what it sounds like. I'll probably advise just turning the speakers down a little bit, or your headphones, because it's going to be a bit loud. Okay, Christ. Right. First things first is that's clipping like mad. We've got that over here. It's going over our threshold by 8.4 decibels, which we really don't want. So first thing to do in this situation is just have everything selected and turn all of it down, so you're no longer clipping. And you want to give yourself quite a bit of headroom there, so -12 is really good. So now what you want to do is you want to go through and set all the levels of every track in your mix. I'm not going to do every single one because we're going to be here all day, but I'm just going to mainly look at the drums for now, okay? So we'll just have them all selected. We've got a lot of drums here as well. I don't think I'm using all of them, but let's just solo them. Okay, so a really good approach to adjusting the volume in your mix is if you want something to stand out more, then you turn everything else down around it, okay? So then you're still keeping that nice bit of headroom over here, and you want that headroom because when you apply all of your effects, all your EQs, your compression and reverb, it's going to make it all louder, and you want that headroom so you don't then go towards clipping. So in this situation, let's just listen to what the drums sound like. I need to turn this bus up actually. Okay, so in this situation, the kick's not really standing out enough for me, so I'll just deselect that and then turn everything else down. Sounds a bit better. Cool. So then we just kind of go through and rinse and repeat really, so I'll go through and have another listen. Okay, I think the snare's a little loud, so I can just turn that down a little bit here. Same with the clap. And the hi-hats actually. I want to keep them all the same as well because I've got 3 different hi-hat sounds going on. So I want them all at the same volume. So once you've done that for all your tracks and channels, then it's time to go through and start applying panning. And panning is just this control here, which determines how far on the left or how far on the right the audio is coming out. Okay. Some things you want to keep central in your mix are mainly bass tones, so any kicks or bass sounds you have going on, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One of the main ones is that speakers and headphones and earphones have to work pretty hard to actually replicate those low-end sounds. So if you've got some low-end panned all the way to the right, then that one speaker is going to have a really hard time doing it on its own. Whereas if it's central, each speaker can kind of split the work between themselves, and it makes everything a bit easier on it. Another reason is that's just where a lot of the energy of the track is, and you want that central so the listener can really feel what's going on. Okay, so panning for drums. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can pan everything from the drummer's perspective or from the viewer's perspective. And by that I mean, if we're doing it from the drummer's perspective, we'd have the hi-hats on the left, they'd be sat next to the left of the drummer if you're using a right-handed drummer, and then the low toms would be on the right. Whereas if it were from the viewer's perspective, it would be the opposite. So they'd be looking at the drummer from the front, and the hi-hats would be on the right to him, whereas the low toms would be on the left. Okay, so we'll just go through and pan a few bits on our kit just to give you an idea of what's going on. So again, we'll have the hi-hats. We'll do it from the perspective of the viewer. So select all our hi-hats. Again, we want them all in the same place because it just makes it sound more realistic. And the hi-hat's going to be on the right. Not too much, but you just want to make it clear that that's where they're placed. But we don't want it hard panned because that'll sound weird. So we want it more about there. So it's still subtle, but you can actually hear the difference. Probably also want to keep the snare central too. Maybe put it slightly to the right from the viewer's perspective. That's where it would be. Again, I've got a couple of snare sounds here, so I want to keep them both the same. And the claps will probably be central too. Things like rides and crashes, the rides would be on the left from the viewer's perspective, quite hard left as well, and the crashes would be on the right. It's good to just kind of spread things out. I haven't perfectly mirrored these either, so again, it just makes it sound a bit more realistic and really spreads out the sound of it. So again, you want to go through and do this for all your tracks, all your channels going on. It's really good to use panning on things like guitars and any synths and pads you've got going on, whereas you probably want to keep vocals central, especially lead vocals. You can pan backing vocals hard left and hard right, and again, it makes it sound really wide and really nice. But I've got a lot of basses going on here, so I'm going to keep all of them dead central. But we'll just have a quick look at some pads as well, and I'll show you what they're all about. Okay, cool, so I've just got some piano chords here and a little melody going on, so let's have a listen to that. Cool, so we can maybe pan the chords slightly left, and then the melody slightly to the right. Again, from there, I've just done it a little bit unevenly because it makes it sound a bit more interesting. It's only subtle, but it's definitely there. And having that, it's just kind of widen the sound of it, okay? So that really is just the fundamentals of where you should start in your mix, okay? So just getting all the levels right, getting all the panning where you want it to, and then that's when you should start applying any EQ, compression and reverb, anything like that, okay? And again, it's good to keep an eye on your headroom going on over here when everything's playing at once. And just make sure you've got enough of it so that you can apply everything and still have that space for extra sounds. When you do start to do your mixing and apply any of those effects, for anything that's panned, it's a good idea to make it central again and then apply all of it, and then just make a note of where it was placed, go back to where it was, and then listen to it again. And by having it in the center, you can process it more accurately, because if it's off to the left or off to the right, especially if it's hard panning, you're relying on one ear over relying on both of them, so it's just improving how you hear it. And that'll be super important for when you are applying any EQs or compression to it. So as I said, set it back to neutral and then just apply your processing and send it back to where it was. I'll also be doing a follow-up video on this, on how to apply any EQs, compressions and reverbs and applying them on a bus on any projects or tracks you've got. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment or contact me via my website. Thanks a lot for watching. Cheers.